My money or my free emotional labor either. Kelly tried to flip it. You're abusing us. You know we can't get loans without you. I said, you chose to build your lives on someone else's name. That was your decision. I am just stepping back and letting you live with it. The chat went quiet for a while. Then my mom sent the one message that showed me we were finally past the pretending stage. So you're really choosing money over family? I shook my head, even though she couldn't see. No, I typed. I'm choosing self-respect over being used. Huge difference. I muted the chat after that. They could scream into the void if they wanted. I had work to do. A month later, I got an email from the bank. Payment past due, joint loan. It was the personal loan with my parents. I had set up alerts, just like I'd asked. My heart hammered as I opened it. They had skipped not just the due date, but the grace period. A late fee was added. My credit score would take a small hit. Previous Rachel would have called in full panic, paid the amount herself, and apologized for nagging. New Rachel sat there and asked herself a different question. Do I want to teach them that I will always rush in, no matter how they treat me? The answer was no. So I called the bank instead and asked, what happens if this stays late? The representative said, it will negatively impact both borrowers' credit. If it goes long enough, it could go to collections. I asked, is there a way to note in my file that I'm not the primary payer? She said, we already have that from your visit. But legally, you're still responsible. I thanked her and hung up. Then I called my dad. He answered with a tired, what now? I said calmly, the loan is late. Silence. Then, we're working on it. I replied, you have two choices. You can pay it and protect your own credit along with mine, or you can let it slide and watch both scores drop. I'm not sending money. I'm done paying for things that were never for me. He tried. We raised you. We did our best. I cut in. I'm not debating history. I'm telling you what's happening now. If my score drops, I'll recover. I have a degree and a plan. Can you say the same? He hung up without answering. 2 days later, the payment was made. I saw the update in my account. For the first time, my parents had solved a money problem I didn't bail them out of. It felt strange and good at the same time, like I'd moved a muscle I didn't know I had. While the money drama was unfolding, I heard through a cousin that Tyler's legendary cake flip story had gotten him in more trouble than he expected. Apparently, he'd bragged about it at school, laughing about how he owned his aunt at her own graduation. One of his teachers, a woman who had actually gone back to school in her 30s, overheard him. She pulled him aside and said, "Do you have any idea what it takes to finish a degree?" Tyler shrugged, probably making some smart remark. The teacher called my sister. She told Kelly that Tyler's attitude toward other people's accomplishments was a problem, that he was rude in class, that he mocked other students, that he needed to learn respect. Kelly complained about the teacher being too sensitive and out to get her son. But school isn't family. They don't care about your family excuses. They care about behavior. Tyler got detention. He lost some privileges in a club he liked. For the first time, he felt a consequence that wasn't cushioned by grandma or mom. I didn't gloat. I didn't text Kelly, "See?" I just watched from a distance as the world slowly started giving him feedback my family had refused to. Cutting myself off financially wasn't just about me. It was about stopping the pattern where every mess he made got wiped clean by someone else. If he wanted to be the guy who throws cakes on the floor, he could also be the guy who deals with people not thinking it's funny. A few months after graduation, I got a job offer from a mid-sized firm in Chicago. Good salary, benefits, a clear path to advancement. When I read the offer letter, I felt a rush of relief and fear. Relief because this was exactly what I'd worked for. Fear because moving meant truly starting over, away from the town where everybody knew my role as the responsible Moore girl. I called my friend Maya and told her the news. She screamed in excitement and said, "You have to go. This is your clean slate." I thought about my parents and Kelly, about whether to tell them. Then I realized something. They'd already cut me off. I didn't owe them a report of my every move. I wrote a short message in the group chat. I've accepted a job in Chicago. I'm moving next month. My mailing address will change. Any future loan correspondence should be handled directly by the bank with you. My mom replied, "So you're really leaving us?" I said, "You left me first. I'm just walking through the door you opened." Kelly wrote nothing. Tyler sent a single eye roll emoji. I muted the chat again. Then I started packing. As I boxed up my tiny apartment, I found the receipt for that smashed graduation cake. I sat on the floor, holding it, and laughed, not because it was funny, but because the girl who ordered that cake had no idea what was coming. The woman taping up boxes now did, and she was not the same person. Before I moved, I had one last meeting with my financial advisor. We reviewed my debts and co-signed loans again. She said, "Once you're in Chicago and settled, you'll have more options, but there's something you could do now if you want a clean break." She suggested I consider voluntarily paying off the smallest joint debt, the store card, and then closing that account completely. "I know it feels unfair," she said. "You didn't create this, but sometimes paying a small price to fully shut a door is worth more than dragging it out for years." I hated that she was right. I also knew I could afford it now with my new job signing bonus, so I did it. I paid off that card in full, closed it, and cut the plastic into tiny pieces. It felt like cutting an umbilical cord that had been wrapped around my neck. For the bigger loans, I decided to wait. I would keep monitoring them, but I wasn't going to drain myself to rescue people who treated my help like a right instead of a gift. I sent my parents and Kelly one last clear message about it. "I have closed the store card. You will no longer have access. For the remaining loans, I will not be sending extra payments. You will need to budget your lives around your actual income, not mine. I will monitor my credit and act if you put it at serious risk, but day to day, you are on your own." My mom replied, "You're cold." I wrote back, "I spent 10 years burning myself up to keep you warm. I'm done being the fire." She didn't respond. Moving to Chicago changed everything. Suddenly, I was in a city where no one knew me as Kelly's sister or Lisa's responsible one. At work, I was just Rachel, the new accountant. My coworkers asked me about my interests, not my family drama. I found a small but clean apartment with a view of the train tracks and felt strangely free every time the train rumbled by. Each paycheck I got, I divided into my bills, my own loan payments, and my savings. No extra line for helping family. No surprise emergency calls that I had to solve. There were still joint loans hanging over my head, yes, but they were no longer strings they could pull to control me day to day. I started therapy. My therapist listened as I unpacked not just the money stuff, but the way my family had treated my feelings like inconveniences. She said something that stuck with me. "You were taught that love means sacrifice until you're empty. Healthy love doesn't demand that. It's okay to stop proving your love by hurting yourself." In Chicago, I built a new kind of family. Friends, coworkers, neighbors, people who didn't think it was funny to destroy someone's cake, people who didn't throw around sensitive like an insult. I still checked my bank alerts once a week. Once in a while, a payment would be late, then fixed. My parents were learning the hard way how to live without my wallet under their feet. I didn't cheer for their struggle, but I didn't rescue them from it either. That was my revenge, not screaming, not cutting them off in one dramatic move, just quietly refusing to bleed for them anymore. About a year after the cake incident, on a random Tuesday night, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. "Rachel?" It was my dad. His voice sounded older, smaller. "Yeah," I said. There was a long pause. Then he said, "We're in a bad spot." He explained that one of the cars had been repossessed, that they were behind on some bills, that Kelly was struggling with work. He didn't ask for money directly. He just laid it out like he wanted me to offer. I stayed quiet. Finally, he said, "I know you're expecting me to ask for help. I want to. But I also know we put too much on you, especially your mother. I should have stepped in. I didn't. I'm sorry." Those last two words hit hard. I'm sorry. I sat on my couch in Chicago, staring at the ceiling, and said, "You know what hurt me the most? Not the loans, not the cake. The fact that you laughed, that you watched them humiliate me, and you laughed." His voice cracked. "I know. I see it now. That night, we were wrong. We failed you. You didn't deserve that." I asked, "So why did it take losing cars and credit points to say that?" He sighed. "Because we're stubborn and stupid, and because you kept saving us, so we never had to look in the mirror." It wasn't a full repair. It didn't magically fix years of imbalance, but it was the first honest thing he had said in a long time. He didn't ask for money again at the end of the call. He just said, "I hope you're happy there. I really do." I said, "I'm getting there." And this time, I meant it. 2 years later, my cousin got married back in Ohio and invited me. I almost didn't go, but part of me wanted to see if anything had changed. When I arrived at the reception hall, I saw my parents across the room. They looked older, but softer somehow. My mom waved, unsure if I'd wave back. I did. Kelly was there too, thinner, dark circles under her eyes. Tyler, now 16, was taller than me. He glanced my way, then looked down. During the reception, there was a moment at the dessert table where we ended up side by side. A cake sat there, untouched. Tyler cleared his throat. "Hey," he said, not looking at me. "Hey," I answered. He shifted his weight. I heard you moved to Chicago. That's cool." I nodded. "Yeah, it is." He picked at his cup. "Mom says you're some big accountant now." It came out like an accusation and an admiration mashed together. I shrugged. "I work. I pay my own bills. It's not that glamorous." He took a deep breath. "I wanted to say, about your graduation cake, I was being a jerk." I looked at him, really looked. He wasn't the cocky kid from that restaurant anymore. Life had knocked him around a bit. "Yeah," I said. "You were." He winced but nodded. "Grandma told me later what it took for you to finish school. The jobs, the loans. I didn't get it. I thought it was just a cake. I'm sorry." It wasn't a dramatic apology. It was awkward and quiet. But it was real. I said, "Thank you. Don't treat people's hard work like a joke. You have no idea what they've survived to get there." He nodded. "I know that now." We weren't suddenly close. He was still Kelly's son, raised in that house. But maybe, just maybe, he'd learned something. And maybe the next time someone celebrated something big, he'd think twice before trying to be funny at their expense. If you've listened to this whole story, I'm guessing you might be the strong one in your family too. The responsible one. The one who co-signs, who helps, who babysits, who doesn't make a fuss. The one they joke can handle anything. Maybe you've also had your big moments ruined or ignored. Maybe you've been told you're too sensitive when you finally speak up. Maybe your pain has been turned into entertainment at a table where everyone else is laughing. I want you to hear me clearly. Strength does not mean letting people walk all over you. Responsibility does not mean sacrificing your future so other people never have to grow up. Being good with money is not a life sentence to being everybody's unpaid safety net. My revenge was not burning my family to the ground. It was simple and brutal in its own way. I stopped volunteering to be hurt. I stopped signing papers I didn't fully control. I stopped paying bills that weren't really mine. I stopped accepting just a joke as an explanation for cruelty. When they told me to stay away forever, I listened, and I took my credit score with me. And when they realized what that really meant, their phones lit up with panic, not because they missed me, but because they suddenly saw the value I brought. That hurt, but it also freed me. If this story hit you somewhere deep, if you've been the quiet backbone of a family that only notices you when they need something, I want you to do one thing for yourself. Not for them. For you. Think about one boundary you can set this week. Maybe it's saying no to a small favor that feels big inside. Maybe it's not co-signing that loan. Maybe it's telling someone, that joke wasn't funny. It might shake things. It might upset people who benefit from your silence. But I promise you this, your life is worth more than being everybody's backup plan. If you've ever had your big moment ruined or your kindness used against you, drop one word in the comments so I know you're out there. Enough. Because you are enough. You always were. And if you want more stories where the strong one finally chooses themselves, you know what to do. Hit like, hit subscribe, and stay with me. We have a lot more to talk about.